Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the RepPath podcast. Today we're going to be focusing on the most important thing to start your journey to get into medical sales or any sales job, any job out there actually. It's resumes, guys. So we're going to be talking about resume optimization today. We're going to talk about what's real, what recruiters are looking for, also, more importantly, what are hiring managers looking for? And I'm going to get into it a little bit of exactly what happens when you send a resume to a recruiter. What really happens? What's all the nonsense that a lot of you guys think with AI and how there's an AI monster out there that is eating up the bad resumes and then only putting good resumes to one side because of certain keywords that are put in. Guys, some of it's true, but it's really blown out of proportion. So we're going to talk about that. I'm actually going to use my old resume in this, that we're going to go over some talking points. So please, guys, as always, any questions you have, submit them from this moment on into the chat. And then at about half hour past, we're going to take a break and then answer all the Q&As from the crowd. Excuse me. Also, if you want to see a copy of this podcast and any other podcast, please make sure you go on my YouTube channel, Unfiltered Medical Sales Coaching, so you can see all our content. And most importantly, guys, RepPath Academy, getting new students every week. Love it. If you guys are serious about really breaking in, and this is just an example, this episode, of some of the things that we talk about in the Academy. One of our modules actually is resume optimization. But please go on the website, repath.com. You could get more information. You could see the student testimonials of students that graduated in the past couple of months with us. So you get a better understanding that these are guys and girls just like you that are struggling to break in. And we're going to give you the tools to help you get past those little hurdles that you're having. Because I know a lot of you have been looking now 6, 7, maybe up to a year, and you start to get frustrated, guys. I don't blame you. We're here to help you out and get over those hurdles so you can finally get in this industry. And that's, last thing, as always, guys, we are live today on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And we're also on every podcast platform out there. All right. So let's just jump right into this. Resumes. Excuse me. So here's the way it works, guys. I know it's simple, but resumes don't get you jobs. Interviews get you jobs, but resumes get you the interview. So resumes get you interviews get you jobs. It sounds simple, guys, but believe me, most of you are not in this industry for one of those two reasons. Either you need your resume to get optimized, or you need help prepping for interviews. A lot of things you say, don't say, everyone's different, but these are the two biggest hurdles that prevent candidates breaking into medical sales. So if you're getting a lot of interviews, odds are your resume is probably in pretty good shape. I mean, that's the next step, but once you get to that interview phase, if you're getting a lot of interviews and you're not getting job offers, then obviously, there's something wrong during the interview phase of the process. So, but we can't start with the interview phase without resumes. So you have to start with the resumes first. And the first thing you want to think about, because today we're going to be focusing on medical sales resumes. What are these guys looking for? And at the end of the day, I know there's a lot of sports fans out there. I'm a big, meathead when it comes to football and sports. So when I was a kid, I collected baseball cards. I did football and basketball too, but mostly baseball cards were the popular, collector's item when we were kids in the 80s. So if you look at the back of a card, you're going to see all statistics. Now, most of you guys know this, all right? But that's essentially what your resume should look like. Now, it's not identical, obviously, but it shows about your results. That's what they care about, guys. You're in sales. They don't care about how nice you are, how good of how great you are getting your admin assignments in, and all the different work that you have to do, and you get jobs done on time and all that. Yes, that's all important too. But at the end of the day, in sales, it's about driving results. So on your resume, it's got to look like that. It's got to be about the results. So if we take, for someone that everyone knows, say Aaron Judge, if we take the back of his card, it's not going to say Aaron Judge runs 3 miles a day. Aaron Judge eats a balanced breakfast of proteins, carbohydrates, and fruits and vegetables. He then swings batting practice 2 hours a day. All right. These are daily activities. They're not results. Results are Aaron Judge is a 3-time MVP. Aaron Judge has hit, 380 home runs in his career, has 1,500 RBIs, is a lifetime 300, plus batting average, whatever it is. Those are the results. That's what I care about. And as not only as a hiring manager, but also as a recruiter. Because on the recruiting end, companies are coming to me and say, Joe, I want reps that, I'm looking in the Boston area. I need someone entry level that has, say, not even entry level, say it's 3 years of cardiology experience living in Boston with proven sales results. So when I look at those resumes quickly, guys, it's got to have those results on there, because if they're not there, I can't send that to the hiring managers, because they're going to go, Joe, I said with proven sales results. I'm getting these resumes and there's nothing here. It's all daily activities. And a lot of you guys do that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But the bottom line is, guys, it's results, results, results. So what does results mean? Okay. Because we're obviously not baseball players. We're not talking about MVPs, home runs, RBIs. It's 4 main things that you guys got to look for and that you should have on your resume. If you don't have all 4, that's okay. But if you don't have any of these 4, then you didn't have a previous sales job. That's the way the hiring managers and the recruiters will look at it. So the 4 things they care about are, number 1, rankings. They want to see where you're ranked within the company. And when you put this in, guys, don't just put ranked number 2. They're not stupid. All right. Again, most of these hiring managers, they've been in the industry a while. They know that if you just put rank number 2, does that mean it was out of 3 reps? And even if it doesn't, you're going to do yourself a disservice, because all these hiring managers are very skeptical. I don't going to shock you with this, guys, but people lie on their resumes a lot. All right. So they know that. So if you're going to play these little tricks and just put rank number 2, they're automatically going to assume, okay, it was probably out of 2 reps or 3 reps. And he doesn't really want to tell me that it's out of 50, or he doesn't want to give me the real number. So put the real number down, guys. Obviously, if you're ranked out of 2 of 2, let's pick a different achievement to talk about, or a result to talk about. But make sure if you're putting the result in, put the total number of people. Rank number 2 out of 50, for revenue growth in 2025. That would be a specific result. And it shows, where you're ranked in comparison to the number of reps in the company. So number 1 is rankings. Number 2 is percent to quota. Okay. So they want to see where your quota is. This is probably, for me, the most universal, that if someone is consistently hitting their quota, they're a high achiever. And we're going to talk about that. So achieved 110% for sales revenue in 2023. That would be a typical line that you put in there. Next is sales growth. So you can measure it either month to month, quarter over quarter, year over year, whatever it is. But they want to see the growth, guys. You're taking over a territory. You're coming into a new area, or you have a great established territory. They want to see that you could continue to grow that. All right. So growth is very important. And lastly, our awards. So President's Clubs, Rep of the Year, Rep of the Month, Diamond Club, Executive Club, whatever titles they come up with at every company. If you have those, you want it to be in there. So again, first thing you guys are going to tell me is, Joe, yeah, but my company doesn't keep track of this. All right. So for all of you listening right now, starting today, if your company doesn't do it, start doing it yourself. Okay. Speak to your manager. Tell them, like, I'm a competitor. I want to know where I'm at, and start. Maybe you could come up with something. Create a little Excel spreadsheet that shows the sales data that you've accomplished so far. So if your first month you achieved $1,000 worth of sales, and then your next month you grew to 1,500, you'd have 50% improvement. So start to do this. Own this, guys. Don't make the excuse that my company doesn't do it. Because if you tell that to a hiring manager and they say, well, you were a sales rep at this company, but I don't see any sales results, or even a recruiter before you get to them, and no one wants to hear that excuse. My company doesn't do that. You could start doing it yourself. And if you can't start doing it yourself and your company doesn't start doing it, are you really in a sales role? Because a lot of times individuals are in more customer service roles or sales support, but they're really not driving sales. So as a sales rep in anything you're in right now, if you're doing anything, please make sure that you own it and start tracking all these things because it's very important. And James, if you can you pull up my old resume if you have it on file?
Yes, I do. 1 second.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we're gonna use my resume just to go over some of these talking points because we're gonna basically go from top to bottom, and some of the things are old. If you can zoom in at the top, James, where you just has my name and then name and education. Perfect, right there. Thank you. So, guys, you see at the top, this is an old resume. So there's some things in here that I would not do today and some things I would do. So this is not, when you see my resume, this is not me saying I have the greatest resume of all time and everyone should do it this way. Absolutely not. I just tried everything in my day. I literally went to recruiters, went to hiring managers. I had coaches. I went to resume writers. Anyone that I can go to that can help me improve my resume, I did. And you'll see, again, there's all old information on here. Starting at the top, guys, quick piece of advice. Simple, short and simple and concise is better than verbose with graphics, with pictures. So a lot of you out there, the new thing that I see is the picture on a resume. Guys, again, you're free to do whatever you want. My opinion, take the picture off the resume. For me, it looks like a giant realtor's real estate agent's card. Because back in the day, I know the only cards that I got that someone had their picture on it were realtors. And that's fine. But you don't put it in the resume. And it's not that I'm sitting here saying, well, I just don't think a lot of people look good in their pictures. Absolutely not. There's a lot of people that look great in their pictures, very professional, and it could help. But the reason is because the more graphics and the other thing you guys do are a lot of tables. There's a self-assessment tables that people do on where they rank themselves and all these skills. And it's just mind-blowing. Guys, don't do this if you're doing it. Don't add all these extra graphs. Don't make it very loud. The reason is when you send me this resume, I get the resume and I put it into what's called my ATS. That's the applicant tracking system. So you're going to hear that acronym thrown out many times. I'm sure a lot of you know what that is, but some of you might not know what it is. It's an applicant tracking system. You get the resume, put it into that, and then it basically saves and parses the resume. So what I mean by parsing, it breaks it up into searchable terms and words. What happens a lot when they're very loud resumes with pictures and graphs, it doesn't parse the resume. So it doesn't save it into the ATS. Now, do you think again, you know me, I don't bullshit you guys. Do you think I'm calling you back up to let you know, or you think any other recruiter is going to call you back up and let you know, hey, by the way, that didn't parse. Can you do me a favor? Can you resend it and redo the resume so it parses? And first of all, people are going to be, what the hell are you talking about with parsing? I don't even know what you mean. So make sure that the less is more, because you could be sending that loud resume to all these recruiters and they're telling you, great, yeah, thanks for sending it. Meanwhile, it doesn't parse. They don't care. They're moving on to the next person because there's so many candidates out there. They don't have time to get on another phone call to teach you what parsing is and ATS is and resume, saving the resume and all that. They don't have time for that. So make sure get rid of all those crazy graphics. It only can make it hurt you when it comes to saving into the ATS. Now, that's not saying that a lot of these don't save. They do. But all ATSs are different. All the softwares are different. There's many different formats that you can use. So, but it does happen a lot. And it does happen more the crazier the information is in the resume. Short and simple, to the point, focused on the results. That's the key. Okay? Because the hiring managers, the recruiters, you want their eyes to get to the point, which are your results. And we're going to go into these examples. So just to start at the top, guys, again, these are some of the things I would keep and not keep with my old resume. Simply, obviously, your name up top. I had my old address in there. I do not need to put the old address in there. You could just have your city and state where you see Hoboken, New Jersey with the zip code, cell phone, email. Okay. Again, this was a while ago. Now I would have my updated LinkedIn profile underneath my email. Now, when it comes to that, when it comes to the profile, the LinkedIn profile, what's very important, guys, is you have to have that match exactly. What's in your resume should match your LinkedIn profile. If it doesn't match, it's a red flag. And a lot of recruiters, forget even hiring managers, they will move on to somebody else. They will not move forward with you. If, for instance, because what happens a lot is people update their resumes, they don't update their LinkedIn profiles. So when it's mismatched, I'm not as strict when it comes to this. If I have a good candidate, they got a great resume, and then I check their LinkedIn profile, and for instance, they have an extra job on their resume, not on their LinkedIn profile, I usually assume it's not their fault. They just didn't go back and update their LinkedIn profile. Not a big deal for me. But for a lot of recruiters, it is, because they look at that as a red flag. And a lot of you do things to just take out that one little 3-month little blurb or little blip in your resume that you, or your little blip in the LinkedIn profile, and you'll take it out or take it out of your resume, vice versa. Whatever it is, that's when it gets a little hairy. And that's when recruiters and hiring managers go, you know what? That's a red flag. If he's already bullshitting about this, we're going to move on to somebody else. All right. So make sure if you're going to put that in there, it matches. And not that this is a LinkedIn profile call, but that's where you put that professional headshot in. Not the picture from you at the wedding that you think you look really good because you got a tan or any of that nonsense. Guys, go get a professional headshot done. Spend a few dollars on it. No one wants to see you in the cool tux from the wedding at your buddy's. No one wants to see that. They can tell, get the professional headshot done with the white or blue background, business casual or a suit on. The more professional it looks, the better. All right. So LinkedIn profiles for another call. But for this, again, keep the pictures off of the resume. So that's all you need at the top. Now, if you see here, I go to education next. Do not do this. All right. This is the only reason why I have my education up high. I had an old mentor that was a big Villanova guy. And he's like, oh, you got to have that up top. Everyone's going to love to see Villanova. Again, guys, I graduated 200 years ago. Nobody gives a shit about where I graduated from. As long as I have a 4-year degree, for a lot of those companies, that's all they care about. So I would take that out and put the education at the bottom. So underneath your contact info, you have a choice. A lot of recruiters might tell you, I want to see a professional summary. For me, I only want to see a professional summary if it's unique to you. This is where the ChatGPT gets a little crazy. All right. So I'm fine with you using ChatGPT, but don't just use it and then just plug it in and then walk away. You got to make it, that could give you the verbiage you want to use, the correct pronunciation, the correct spelling, punctuation, all that stuff. That's fine. But get in there after you put that in, if you're going to use that, and make it unique to you. Don't just have all the adjectives. ChatGPT is going to give a lot of adjectives. Dynamic, results oriented, energy focused or whatever, team leader. Guys, go in there and make it about you. If you have a lot of adjectives in there, that is a red flag. I can tell, and if I can tell, that means a lot of other recruiters and hiring managers can tell. So you want to make it unique. If you've been in the industry for 21 years, put with 21 years of experience. If you called on cardiology, electrophysiology, neurology, whatever it is, put some of those words in there, because those are the words that when you parse it and the resume gets saved, companies are asking for. Joe, I want someone with cardiology experience. So it's going to pick up those search words when I search it. So that's important. If you have experience in specialty pharmacy, GPOs, IDNs, things that are really unique, OR experience, cath lab experience, some of those things with some of you that have experience in the industry, make sure you're putting that in there into that summary. Because if you're going to make it a generic summary and it's going to be 5-6 paragraphs long, take up a quarter of the page, guys, for what? No one wants to read nonsense, because all it's doing now is taking away for your results. We don't want that. We want to get to the point, get to the meat of this, and that's your results. So James, if we can go down Go, if you could zoom down to this, not this job, not Cogent, stereotaxis. Perfect. So perfect. All right. So it might be a little hard for you guys to see, but you'll get the gist for this. So this is the format that I like to use. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see I have date, and that's the month and date and year. A lot of you just put the year. Guys, stop doing that. All right. That's a red flag. Again, they're not stupid. If I just put 2013, 2016, James, if you can highlight that. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. So you see I have March 13th to September 16th. Now, if I don't have that in there, right, and I just have 2013, 2016, now that could be 4 years of experience or 2 years. Because if it's December 13 and January 16, December 13, January 16, then that's 2 years. But if it's January 13 to December 16, now we're looking at 4 years. So don't play that game, because if you play the game of just putting years down, then they're going to think, okay, when was there a gap that he doesn't want to show us? Is there a reason? We're looking for 3 years experience. Is he not putting those dates down because he probably only has 2 years experience? They will think this way. They're not dumb. So put the month and year in there. Next, when you go to the right, this is the important part, guys. James, if you could zoom in, you could get the name and the date out. I'm sorry. If we could just zoom. Yeah. Perfect. If you could come up a little bit, just, all right, perfect. Right there is good. So you'll see here, guys, it's, stereotaxis, my title, regional sales manager, and then you get into the actual role that you had, right? So you get into you want to answer 3 questions. And if you go down, James, go to Boston Scientific. Yeah, either one. Okay. So just as simply, for all of these jobs, guys, it's the same format. It's the title of the company, the company name, your job title, and then get one sentence. One sentence. That's fine right there, James. If you can highlight that sentence under account manager, perfect. Thank you. You give one sentence that answers 3 questions. So a lot of you, what you guys do is you give me a little paragraph that describes the company. You'll start telling me where Boston Scientific is located, the headquarters, what they do, how big the company is. Guys, no one cares about that. They care about what you do at Boston Scientific. And if you can't sum up what you do in one sentence, it's a red flag. Because again, you got to think of the psychology behind this for the hiring managers. They want reps that can get to the point with their messaging. And because if you can't get to the point and tell me what you do concisely, then how the hell are you going to talk to my doctors? How are you going to get in front of customers? Because believe me, guys, when you're in these resume optimization calls like I do every day, there's a correlation by reps that have very verbose, long resumes that they talk on and on. When you're speaking to them, that's how they speak. So, and then when you have the reps that just get to the point, that's how you see it in their resume, and that's how they talk. They're very just short and concise, but they're effective in their messaging. It's not like they're not answering the questions. They're getting to the point. So that's the whole thing in here, guys. You want to get to the point. So you have that one sentence underneath your job title that answers 3 questions. Number 1, what did you sell? Number 2, who did you sell to? Who's your customer? And 3, where? Where's your territory? So simply, responsible for sales of spinal cord stimulators to neurosurgeons and pain specialists in the New York, New Jersey territory. What did I sell? Spinal cord stimulators. Who did I sell to? Neurosurgeons and pain specialists. Where? New York and New Jersey. That is all they need to know, guys. Because now it's simply, oh, I see he sold spinal cord stim. Okay, maybe I know what that is, maybe not, but at least I have an idea. Neurosurgeons and pain specialists, those are his therapeutic areas that he has relationships in. Okay, great. New York and New Jersey. Because again, when they are calling me, Joe, I am looking for someone with pain management experience, neurosurgery experience in the New York City area. The first thing I'm going to do, remember, I'm going back into my ETS that saves all my resumes, and I am searching neurosurgery or pain management, New York City, and then a bunch of resumes are going to come up. Those are the first two searches I'm going to do, is the therapeutic area that they're asking for, and then the area that rep worked in. Because obviously, if they have an opening in New York, I'm not going to put in a Boston search or an Atlanta search. I'm going to put the city that they're looking for. So, and for a quick note, guys, a lot of you that say I'm open to relocate, that's great. You got to understand though, majority of these companies, they have so many candidates that live in the territories now that it's not as much of a selling point anymore. Maybe for more of an entry level role that they want someone to go out to more of a remote area, or they're struggling to find someone in remote areas that could work. But a lot of these big cities, a lot of these areas, guys, they got tons of people there. So they really want to see that you have that territory experience. So those two key things, those two search items, the therapeutic area and the city that you covered, the area you covered, those are the first two things that I search, and then I get more specific, but those are very important. So a lot of you don't put down the specialties, or you don't put down the city. Sometimes majority of you get right under your title and then just get right into daily activities. This is where you guys load it with daily activities. Stop doing this. They don't care about your daily activities on your resume. Your resume is supposed to be loaded with accomplishments, to the point where you go, as a recruiter, you go, holy shit, I got to see this. I got to speak to this individual. They have so much, they accomplish so much. I got to talk to them. I know the hiring manager is going to want to talk to them. And then the hiring manager goes, well, yeah, I love this rep's resume. I love their accomplishments. When I speak to them in the interview, that's when you tell them about, they're going to ask you about your strategy. What's your process? Excuse me. What do you do on a daily basis? That's where you walk through your daily activities. Give me one sec. So that's where you go through your daily activities. That's where it's important, not on the resume. The resume is for results. So after that, so now just to walk through again, we have title, company name, my title, the one sentence that answers those three questions. What did you sell? Who did you sell to and where? Then we go to our accomplishments. And James, if you could just go down a little bit and just go to the accomplishments part right there. Oop. Perfect. Right there. And if you could just highlight accomplishments in the bullets. Sorry. Thank you, buddy. Perfect. So you see here, guys, a lot of you, what you'll do normally, you'll have the title, the name of the company, your title, and then you just put bullets, right? And then you're incorporating daily activities with accomplishments. I don't really know what the heck is going on. So clearly put, you see how I bold accomplishments, and then I bullet point everything underneath that. So for me in my resume, anything that's in a bullet is an accomplishment. That's a result. Now for you guys, you don't have to use the word accomplishment. You could say accolades, highlights. I don't care what you put, but bold that, guys. Make that jump out, because that's where I want my eyes to go. I want their eyes to go, whoever's reading this, and then get into those bullets. And that's the results that we talked about, the awards, the rankings, the growth, the percent to quota, those four things. That's what they want to see here. Because trust me, I've never had a hiring manager say, Joe, you know what? I had such a good, that candidate was so good. I love their resume, but honestly, I'm going to pass on them because they just had too many accomplishments. Guys, never going to happen. So the longer you've been at companies, obviously you don't want to put every little thing that you did there each quarter, but you want to load it still where I'm focusing on numbers. The more numbers you have in your resume, odds are that's showing that you have more accomplishments in there. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see daily activity after daily activity. Again, that doesn't tell them what you accomplished there. That doesn't show that you're a high performer. I mean, a lot of you put down like coordinated KOL presentations or collaborated with the marketing team. Guys, who cares? So does every other rep. Held presentations to IDNs and hospital institutions, throughout Virginia. Okay, who cares? Every sales rep in Virginia does that same thing that calls on hospitals. I want to see what your accomplishments are. If you had formulary wins, that's great. If you got products approved to different GPOs or IDNs, that's great. That's an accomplishment. But don't just tell me that you get up, you brush your teeth, you combed your hair, and you drive to work every day. Those are daily activities. So make it about the accomplishments. And I think I beat this up enough. James, if you go down, so we could zoom out. Just a quick note. So guys, if even from this distance where it's really small, a couple of things the myths that we're going to debunk right away. First off, I don't know about you, and I'm not saying this because it's my resume, but my eyes go right to those accomplishments. They go towards the bullets. Mine is, you see mine, guys. Look, it's not elaborate with words, with graphs, with all that. It's to the point. I want them to see that I am a salesman, that's what I do. I drive results. All right. So make sure that yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but my eyes should go in a direction. When there's two different sides and people's eyes are going on both sides, they don't know where to look. They list skills, they list achievements, they list, hobbies and things. That's like, all right, guys, some of this stuff is great just for the interview, but for this, focus on your results. If you make it more results driven, you will get more responses from recruiters and hiring managers. I guarantee you. And of course, this is one of the things that we teach in the RepPath Academy. So we will help you with this. If you feel like your resume is all over the place, it's part of our program where we teach it and make sure that you're optimized so you can get out there and really, hit the ground running. Couple quick myths to debunk. It has to be one page is bullshit. That's not true. For some of you that are younger, you don't have as much experience. Of course, it's going to be harder for you to even fill up a page. For some of us who have been in the industry a lifetime, it's hard to get all your accolades onto one page. But don't get me wrong. If you've been in the industry 30 years, don't send me a 5-page resume that shows everything you did. If you got to go to that second page, fine. But it doesn't have to be one page. One page, it's very hard for individuals because sometimes you cut out so much that it's taken away from your accomplishments in your past. So don't worry about the 1-2 page thing. Lastly, please, all of you that put references available upon request at the end of the resume, stop doing that. You're actually wasting space. Do not do that. It's a no shit moment, guys. Like, yes, of course, if I ask for a reference, are you not going to provide it? You don't need to tell me that you're going to provide it. Every single sales candidate out there is going to be asked, or most candidates for any job is going to be asked for a reference. Now, so you don't need to put that line in there. It's just a wasted line and just something else that takes away from focusing on accomplishments. So please stop doing that. And now for me, just side note, when it comes to references, I personally think they're stupid. I don't think anybody that you give me a list of references. I know you're friends with these people. Am I really going to call those people to see if I, have questions about your background? Do I still do it sometimes? Of course, if I have no one else to call, but I'd rather speak to someone that's not on the list. If you worked at Boston Scientific and I happen to know someone there, then I could start digging, like, what do you think of this rep? They just applied. Then I know I'm going to get an unbiased opinion. But I don't know anyone. I've never met a candidate that lost out because one of the references they put down talked bad about them. I mean, that would just be crazy. I'm sure it's happened before, but I still don't understand the companies that still ask for references and they're going by the person who's trying to get the job. So unless that person, it just isn't thinking and they put down an enemy or someone that hates him on their resume, how much of an unbiased opinion are you really getting? So if you could speak to someone that works at those companies that aren't on their list, that's usually more of a realistic answer that you're getting from people. And even that you got to take with a grain of salt, because just one person giving a little negative review, it's not going to make me stop hiring someone, because a lot of times when you speak to the people, you're like, okay, that didn't really, push me away from that person, or it seems like you had your own little problem. So I'm not going to base it on one person, but it still will give me a much more realistic view of the person, because that's unbiased. This person doesn't even know, that we were looking to hire this candidate. They didn't even know that they were a reference. They weren't a reference. They're just giving their unbiased opinion. So I'm going to stop here, guys, and then take a break. James, do we have any questions from the crowd?
Yeah, we have a couple, Joe. We could start with, how can I stand out if I don't have clinical or sales experience yet?
Yeah. And this is something else that we will teach. It's going to be a combination of a few things, but when it comes to just your resume, you have to really accentuate your transferable skills. So we've placed thousands of candidates. They're not all sales reps. They're not all previous reps from ADP or Paychex or all these B2B companies. There's actually a majority of them didn't have sales experience. But what we help you with is showing your transferable skills. So for instance, if you're a teacher, teachers have great presentation skills. They present to students all day long. That's exactly what you're going to be doing in some of your lunches, your breakfast, whatever meetings, your presentations to physicians, to nursing staff, to clinical staff, to office staff, whoever it is. You're always going to be doing some sort of presentation. So to have those presentation skills are key. And that's what you're basically doing is whatever you do, there's always a way to show transferable skills to a medical sales job. There always is a way. I don't care what your background is. There's always a way to show that. And that's what you got to highlight. And that's what we help you do is highlight those skills because it gives that hiring manager better trust that you really have an understanding, even though you never had the role before, but you really understand what it takes to be successful. Because you're not going to just say, oh, I have presentation skills, and put that in the resume. We're going to tie it in onto how that's important for medical sales. So presentation skills is key. And then the other key that's not necessarily resume related is you can outwork, and we do this all the time. Our candidates do this all the time. This is what we take pride in. I did it as a sales rep where I outworked candidates with more experience during the interview process, putting in the work, doing the research, speaking to reps at the company, trying to find out as much information about that new territory that I'm taking over, that manager I'm going to be working with. I would know everything. And I only knew that by speaking to as many reps as possible that work within that division or that region or whatever that is, that they know what's going on, at the ground level. This is not something that you can Google or ChatGPT. That's not going to help you. The only way that's going to help you is by speaking to these reps. And we are huge advocates of this, guys, because that helps you get ahead of people with more experience. It shows them that you could put in the work and outwork these people. And that's the kind of person I want on my team, because I want someone that could get out there, is hungry, that's going to go out there and just kick ass, knock down doors. A lot of these reps that have been in the industry a long time, sometimes hiring managers get a little like, yeah, they got great experience, but this person seems a little tired. Doesn't seem like they have that same will or intensity that they used to have or may have had in the past. Because during the interview process, Bob over here called, all 10 of my reps, and Jim, the stud, who has 20 years experience, didn't call anybody. Didn't even try to find out information. That's a red flag, guys. And a lot of senior reps do this. They feel that, hey, I'm good enough. I got the background. I got the experience. I really like this company. I want the job. But no, you still got to put the effort in, guys. So you all out there, once you get an interview set up, realize it's equal playing field now. Now's your chance to really shine. And when you can outwork them, there's no excuses. If you lose out on the job, that's fine. But don't lose out on the job because someone outworked you. That's an unacceptable, non-negotiable for us. You have to outwork the people. And if you do these two things between showing the transferable skills and outworking your competition, you're going to get jobs.
Joe, should I customize my resume for each job or just make one really strong version?
So it depends. The answer is, the short answer is don't go crazy creating a new resume for every job that you send out there. It's not going to work, guys. You want to make little tweaks. That's fine. So the tweaks that we talk about, you're going to see when you get job listings and you apply. First off, guys, quick tip with that. Read the job listings. I know all you tell me, I always read all the job listings. Bullshit. No, you don't. Not all you. I'm sure there's a lot that do, but there's a lot that do not. You send me your resume and say, Joe, I'm interested. It's probably the most annoying thing you can do for a recruiter. I want you to take those job requirements cut and paste into the body of the email that you're sending your resume as an attachment. In the body of the email, cut and paste those requirements. And then underneath each requirement, put why you're a fit. Simply, if it says 4-year college degree, graduate with a bachelor's from Villanova University in 2001. That's it, done. Now, each one, just short and simple, give those bullets. 3 years of cardiology experience. I have 5 years of cardiology EP experience calling on doctors, throughout the Northeast. Like, that's short and simple. And if you make it easier for the recruiter job is to make it easier for the hiring manager. So they will respond because you just made it easy for them. And they'll go, oh, this is great. I'm going to cut and paste, send this email with the attachment and say, hey, Bob, I think, this guy, this girl, Susan, would be a great fit for your company. Look, she checks off all the boxes. That's simply what I would put. And then they're more likely to get a response. But if you make it more work for them, just say, I'm interested, send the resume. And a lot of times when they put that, I look at the resume and it's like, wow, they didn't even meet one of the requirements. And they're sending this just to take a shot. So that's why a lot of times recruiters don't get back to you because, not to be tough on you guys, you just wasted their time by sending this resume that you weren't clearly a fit. You weren't a fit. You didn't even meet any of the requirements. I don't have time to get back to that person. I don't. I'm focusing on the people because I got 50 more to look at that actually are a fit. Those are the people I have to get back to. So make it easier for them. And when it comes to applying, guys, if you don't meet at least 60%, not even 50, 60% of the requirements, don't apply, guys. It's just, you're going to get yourself frustrated. You're going to get ghosted all the time. You're also showing that these aren't the roles that you're not going to be a fit for every role. That's okay. Focus on the roles that you're a fit for. You don't have to be a fit for everything, but if you're not meeting at least 60% of those requirements, believe me, guys, you're just going to get frustrated by getting ghosted by companies. You're still more than welcome to apply whatever you want. I just know I started to get frustrated. I'm like, wow, no one is getting back to me. What the hell am I doing wrong? And it's because I was doing the spray and pray technique. Spray my resume out to everyone and then pray that someone gets back to me. Doesn't work, guys. It's got to be more. Less is more. Focus on those jobs that you're a fit for and you'll do better.
Should I talk about certifications or trainings in my resume that I've done, even if they're not medical?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Putting that in your resume. Quite simply, you could just put in the certifications, section, and then list those certifications. That's fine. But for a lot of you guys, your companies don't ask me. No, I shouldn't say that. A lot of times, clinical certifications, companies they look for. They'll say, hey, do they have an RN degree or whatever, certain degrees and all. Sometimes that comes up, which is important. But I can tell you right now, guys, and I'm not here to bash any other companies or tests or whatever. God bless them. The CMPR, that's Certified National Pharmaceutical Rep certification, nobody cares about that. I've never had a company ask me, Joe, can you give me the CMPR? Because this is important for our, we need someone that has that knowledge. Guys, it's, courses like that are going to give you a little background. That's great to take on your own. And if you want to put that down on the resume to show that, look, I go above and beyond. I own my own development. I'm always trying to do more to get above my competition. Now, that's great for that point. So if you want to spend the money and take it for that, God bless, do that. But if you think that just by putting that certification down, that companies are going to go, oh, thank God you have this certification. No, they're going to teach you a lot of this material during training. So that's not what's important to them. So a lot of these certifications, you really, before you dive in, speak to recruiters. Ask them, by the way, I was thinking about doing this. Is that going to help me if I put that on my resume? Just because it doesn't help you on your resume doesn't mean too that it might not help you be a better candidate, because some of these can give you knowledge and advice and, and different approaches to become a better candidate. But just by putting certifications down, like I said, the CMPR, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you get a job. But those other clinical certifications or any other certifications that you get that show that you're a very well-rounded individual and you bring a little something different to the table, absolutely. definitely put them down. I just hate to see people, because I see the CMPR a lot, and people spend the money, they do that, and they're like, yeah, but I got my CMPR. You're like, no, it doesn't matter. Again, use it as a talking point about owning your own development and doing more, but don't think companies are calling me saying, Joe, I must have someone with that certification.
I've applied to hundreds of medical sales jobs and get no responses. Does that mean my resume is the problem?
Odds are your resume is a problem, or you're also applying to jobs that you're not qualified for. So it's one or the other. If you're not getting one response and you sent out hundreds of resumes, I will more than likely think that your resume is a dumpster fire, that there's something seriously wrong with it. A lot of times grammatical errors, punctuation errors, random capitalizations or lowercase at the beginning of a sentence. I mean, these are things that happen, guys. No results on there, just very unorganized, disorganized, just doesn't look right. I mean, they're going to the recruiter's not going to pass you through because it represents them. They have to make sure that they're screening all this stuff. Because if I just keep sending resumes that get sent to me and pass them right to companies, they're going to go, Joe, what the hell are you sending me? You're wasting my time now. Now I got to go through all these bad resumes that aren't qualified. These candidates aren't qualified, and I'm wasting my time. So what do I need you for? So know what they're going to do? They're going to stop using Joe. And I lose a client that way. So I'm going to make sure if stuff isn't up to par, I'm not going to reach out to that candidate. I might reach out and say, hey, you need help with your resume. If you're interested in optimizing your resume, we can help you with that. But I'm not going to pass along a resume just because you send it to me if I feel that it's not up to par. No, because it represents me and what RepPath represents and what our clients, we want to bring the best to our clients. So we're not going to give them haphazard resumes. So again, guys, hundreds of resumes. If you're applying to hundreds of jobs, not getting callbacks, that's a red flag that there's something wrong with your resume. And we can help with that. Again, this is what we do at the Repath Academy.
Joe, what do I do if every job listing says 2 years minimum experience and I have 0?
Don't apply to it. Just that simple. You could apply to it if you want, but you better, if that's 1 out of 10 requirements, you better be meeting a few of those other ones, because if you're not meeting any of them, why waste your time? Why even apply to a sales job then? Why not apply to an engineering job? You're not meeting that requirement anyway too. That's the way I look at it. They're telling you what they want. Now, if you have a year experience and they're asking for 2, of course, that's worth a shot. But if they're asking for all these things, you're just no. And then at the end, you send the email, while I don't have this, that's another thing that you guys like to do is, although I do not have 2 years of sales experience, I make up for it with grit, intensity, hard work, blah, 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 all the bullshit adjectives that everyone uses. And it goes on deaf ears. So start with the companies that don't require 2 years experience. Start there. And once you go through all those, then go to the year ones. Then don't start at the 2-year ones and go, well, this is not fair. How come it's an entry-level job, but they still want 2 years experience? I agree, guys. It shouldn't say entry-level if they are requesting 2 years. But a lot of times they mean entry-level into this industry. So they do expect still 2 years from B2B, some of those roles. And again, not all of them want that, because there's a lot of companies that hire reps right out of college or hire reps without experience. Again, sometimes when you focus on the right industries, and this is what happens too, a lot of reps, they'll start focusing right out of college and look at pharmaceutical jobs. The majority of pharmaceutical jobs, they do not hire reps that don't have at least a year of B2B sales experience, or at least a 4-year degree. It's very rare in pharma that they're going to hire someone without a 4-year degree and without sales experience. I just don't see it happening. I rarely see it. Now, med device, distribution, diagnostics, they do, especially distribution, when a lot of them are smaller companies where if they like you, they like the way you talk, they like the way you act, the way you present yourself, they say, screw it, I don't care. I love this individual. I want her on my team, and they'll do that. So make sure you're looking at the right jobs. Again, that's spray and pray technique. If you're not qualified, do not apply. It just, you could do what you want, but then you're going to be calling and saying, I'm getting frustrated. No one's getting back to me. Okay, but where are you applying? And this, again, I know I keep beating it to death with the RepPath Academy. This is how we help you with this. I'm not going to let you just apply to anywhere and everywhere because you're going to get frustrated. So quick, again, long answer to just don't apply. If you're not qualified, don't apply. Sip boo boo.
If I shadowed a rep for one day, how do I include that on my resume?
If you shadowed a rep for one day,
yeah,
I wouldn't include that in your resume. I don't know what that really is. That really something that's going to help make me as a hiring manager get excited that you just happen to shadow a rep? I think it's good conversation for an interview, but I don't see where that would be relevant most of you should be able to do that where it's not that hard. Call up reps, go sit outside of offices, offer a rep, say you're trying to break in. Hey, are you around next week? Can I shadow you? I'd love to buy you lunch, whatever. I'm trying to break in. Eventually someone will say, yeah, man, that's fine. Now it's going to be harder in the hospital space and covering cases on the device side because then you have to be credentialed. There's a lot of legalities there. That's not like it used to be. But going in and out of offices, most reps, they'll say, yeah, sure. You could do that without a rep. Go to offices, say you left your card at home. I'm just trying to get a lunch schedule. To practice this, guys. This is actually something great to do. Go there. You could say, you could create a card if you want. I don't care what you do. Your old business card and see what it looks like when you're talking to a receptionist, when you're in a busy office with a lot of patients. See how they treat you. It'll be eye-opening, guys. I'm not saying this to scare you, but try to do your own ride-along. Why not? Pick 10, 20 doctors. Go to offices each day. You're going to see who's there. You're going to see how many just outright reject you, and then maybe a couple will actually book an appointment or a lunch. But it gives you a real good idea of what's out there. Now, when you have that conversation with that hiring manager and you say, I actually did this on my own and I went out there by myself and I just knocked on doors. I tried to get with reps to do ride-alongs. There was always challenges. So I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it by myself. That impresses me. That's great. But you're not going to put that into your resume. You're not going to put a story into your resume. It doesn't look right. But it's excellent to talk about during the interview. So definitely great question, whoever asked that. But I challenge you guys to go out there, do it without a rep. See what kind of guts you have now that you really want to get into this industry. This is a great test. This is how they'll act to you. Put the suit on, put the whatever business attire if you're a girl, whatever it is, and just go out there. See what it's like. And I guarantee you're going to learn a lot, guys. It's going to be a real eye-opener, good and bad. But that story that you'll be able to tell that hiring manager, that's where you're showing them your dedication, showing them how much you really want this. And that goes a long way.
John McKinty, I think it was.
John McEntee.
Yeah.
Schmack, what's up, buddy?
Hanover Park baseball, 1997 state champs.
Yeah, I let them win the state championship without me that year. I didn't play, so I felt bad for him.
I was going to say, Joe, you were on a state champion baseball team. Look at this guy.
No, I wasn't, but we did have an amazing team. And McEntee was a great player then. He played with us quarterback for a few years, and he left us on the football side, so I got to bust him there. But he was a great athlete, and yeah, they were awesome, man. They had a great run our senior year. But I'm glad to see that he's on here, man. Thanks, Mac.
We got a question over here. How do I downplay a job I was fired from so it doesn't hurt my chances?
The main thing is you want to focus on the positives and keep it short and sweet with anything negative in your past. It's the same thing you're going to do with your products, guys. When you get into medical sales, a device say, you don't have just 100 great things about your product and there's no negatives. It's all pros, no cons. No, it's ridiculous. So if you get out there and you start talking with the doctor, oh, by the way, we have the most expensive product on the market. And you just leave it at that. Doctor's going to laugh at you. Be like, okay, well, no, thank you. But you're going to talk about all the positives and then just at the end or whatever, you got to get to those negatives. Like, of course, you got to bring those up, but then you gotta twist it and sell it, of why they're so expensive. Take those perceived negatives and make it a positive. I didn't have all great things in my background. We were laid off 3 different times. I was a part of 3 major layoffs. So I don't sit there and go for 20 minutes, oh, and then you know what? The company made another bad decision and they screwed up because they invested in this product or that product. And then before you know it, then it looked like they were cutting our budgets and then they were doing this, and quickly I just got to the point, unfortunately it was laid off, but it opened up this amazing opportunity that I was able to get when I went to Boston Scientific or wherever I went next. So keep it positive about the future. And now, even if it's something negative, it's something that helped build you to who you are today. Everything in your background, guys, again, good and bad, is what made you who you are today and then gets you to where you want to be. So I may have been a part of these 3 layoffs. I may have done all this stuff in my past. But again, this is what eventually enabled me to open RepPath and develop this company and develop this academy and do all these things and get almost 25 years of experience in all these different areas that makes me, one of the top coaches out there. Where again, I'm focusing on future. I'm not going back and going, yeah, those times really were tough. It was a struggle. You get laid off. It's uncertainty. Like no one wants to hear that, guys. So keep it short and sweet, and we can help you with that in your own specific scenario because it's tough. It's not easy to come up with every day, but if you focus on the negatives too much, they will not move you forward. Focus on positives, short and sweet with negatives. Excuse me.
Is it okay to reuse bullets from old job descriptions, or is that a bad look? I'm guessing like if it's the same bullet point in the job, like,
oh, I get it. Like in just cutting and pasting.
Well,
I don't care if you cut and paste.
I don't know if it's cutting and pasting, but like just say it, there's 2 jobs that have the same thing that they accomplished in that job. Is it okay to reuse it?
Yeah, it wouldn't matter to me. But if there's 2 different jobs that they had, and then they're literally using all the same bullets and maybe changing a word, I mean, if that's really what you did twice, that's fine. The way I look at it is take each job separately and just look at your job that you're currently at, the one that you were at before, and then just add whatever your accomplishments are. And if they are similar, great. But if you're cutting and pasting and then not really changing stuff too much, I mean, obviously you're making shit up. But if it's similar, who cares? That's fine. But the key to this, guys, because this brings up a good point too, start updating your resume more frequently. I know it sucks. This is one of those tasks like going to the dentist or going to the cleaners or doing those things that you're like, it's just annoying, but you got to do it, but you don't want this to build too long because this happens with a lot of experienced reps. They've been in the company 10, 15 years. Now they're looking and their resumes are usually the ones that need the most optimizing because they haven't done it in so long. Now they're trying to go back 12, 15 years. Of course, that's a big task. So each time, what I suggest you guys all do, every time you get any kind of accolade, any kind of positive email, quarterly results that you're doing well, something from your manager where you were, selected to some committee or anything that's positive, save it into a file. That will be your brag book because you're going to print that out, make it into an actual brag book that you can hand to the hiring manager, and then also have it saved electronically so you always have that. But start doing that now, guys, because the longer you get into your careers, it's harder to track all that. And you want that because nobody does brag books anymore. Hiring managers don't even ask for it a lot of times. So how much more are you going to stand out that you're one of those individuals that actually has all your proof? That's here, this is exactly what I did. Look at all these accomplishments, look at all these recommendations, look at all that. Like that's what I did back in my day. And it works. I have a recommendation from a doctor that he gave to me. I didn't even ask for it. So, and I make sure to say that I still have that saved in my old brag book. So make sure you're doing all these things now because the brag book is going to be key, to stand out from the competition.
And I got one more for you today, Joe. We got
Beautiful.
how do I communicate that I'm coachable and motivated through my resume?
You're coachable and motivated through your resume. You're going to show it through your actions and through the interview process. So if you're motivated, you better be one of the people that are reaching out to as many reps at my company that we have in the process. So if you're so motivated, and then say by chance you do get an interview, but you didn't contact anyone, how are you motivated? There's 3 other reps here that are competing against you that all reached out to all my team. They wanted to learn more. They put in more work. If you're so motivated, how come you're not creating a specific 30, 60, 90 that is specific for this role with the list of doctors, hospitals, contacts? And that I see that you put the work in. That shows me you're motivated. That shows all that. I care about that. Everyone could put adjectives down. Don't tell me, show me. That's the best way to do it. Show them during this process. Be aggressive reaching out. Reach out to the hiring manager. Let them know how much you want the job. Not everyone even does that. They'll say, well, Joe, I didn't get his email. Bullshit. Figure out the email. A lot of times you get the email through the recruiter, through another rep. If the one rep is jlicata@xyz.com, then obviously the hiring manager is going to be something at like bschroeder@xyz.com. So push yourself a little bit more, guys, but show it by actions, not just by writing coachable and driven or whatever, or, motivated in the resume. That's not going to do it. You got to show it by the actions.
That's all I got for you today, man.
Awesome. Those were great questions, guys. So I really do appreciate it. As always, guys, we're going to do these calls every Monday and Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, but this is just a small taste of what we do at RepPath Academy. Obviously we get more on a one-on-one level, but you'll have modules set up like this. And one of them is resume optimization, where you see my ugly mug on the screen, for a little bit of time. And then we'll have homework, and then we'll have little quizzes to make sure that you're actually implementing what we're teaching. And then every Tuesday and Thursday, we're actually going to do live group training. So we're going to address, okay, what's going on with your resume? Let's all attack this together. You'll get me, my coaches, other members in the academy that are all giving their input and are all having the same challenges, and you'll see you're going to pick up tips from not only the coaches, obviously, but you're going to pick up tips from the other reps because they're going through exactly what you're going through. So again, guys, please, if you're looking and you're serious, you really want to get into this industry, we can help. Join the RepPath Academy. Go to repath.com. You'll learn more. You'll see those testimonials. And for any of you individuals that are, lobby members, any lobby members out there, please make sure that you give the promo code Licata when you reach out to me. So any of you can DM me interested about the academy. If you're interested about, if you're a lobby member and you want to get additional discounts, please give the promo code Licata, Licata, so we can do that. But other than that, guys, thank you so much. James, thank you again. Today was a great call. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the input and the questions. And I'll see you guys next Monday at 3 p.m. Have a great week.